Good morning. Welcome to the Daily Echo. It is magnificent Monday, May 4th. Should be beautiful like it is here in Tucson. 82 the high today. Should be a beautiful May day. As you looked at the title today, it probably caused you to maybe click on and see the link today. And we're going to talk about fathers. Where have all the fathers gone? This is a very important question in our society, and I think it has to do a lot with the decay of our society and the decay of the moral ethics that we're seeing, or the lack of moral ethics that we're seeing, especially with our young men. I was reading an article yesterday and watched a short film about elephants in Africa. And this is an interesting story, so bear with me. The elephants in Africa had outgrown this certain park that they were living in, and so the park officials had to figure out what to do. They just couldn't keep that many there, and they didn't want to get rid of them by execution. So they devised a method to ship a certain amount of elephants from one area to another. When they devised the straps to carry these elephants out, the big problem that they had was that they could only carry out the juvenile elephants and they could only carry out the mothers. The big bull fathers, it was too weak. The harnesses couldn't carry these massive creatures. So they ended up carrying out mostly juveniles and some mothers. Over the course of the next months and over the next year, there's something strange happened in this group of juvenile elephants. The males started to congregate together. They started to hang out together. They became extremely vicious. Now, what had happened is the white rhinoceros they were finding white rhinoceroses dead, and these were a protected species in a park. Obviously, at first they suspected poaching, but there were no gunshot wounds, and the rhino's tusks was still intact. So they set up some hidden cameras, and what they found was quite disturbing. These male juvenile elephants would torment these rhinos. They would torment them to the point that eventually they would stomp on them and poke them with their tusks, and ended up killing, I believe, about 30 of these. So this became a major problem. You've never seen this in the elephant community when they're raised in the population with their fathers or with a dominant bull that keeps them in line. So they had a decision to make. They ended up executing one of the male elephants because they tried numerous ways. They would be there watching them torment these rhinos and trying to keep them from killing anymore, and they ended up having to execute one of them. The idea was to bring some males back in, the big bull males. And so they devised stronger harnesses, and over the course of the next few weeks brought back in these dominant males that once were with these young bulls. Interestingly enough, within a few weeks, the behavior, the testosterone level, everything of these young bulls began to be dropped down considerably, and within about a month they were acting absolutely normal. No aggression whatsoever. These big bulls had kept them in line. In an article that was written, I'm trying to think of the name of the doctor's name. he had written an article about our prisons being full of mostly these inmates are predominantly male, and they are predominantly fatherless males. We know that in the animal kingdom we see this example. We also know that in the real world that boys need fathers. And every boy out there has a father. Now maybe some fathers have passed on, but in most cases the fathers are still alive. Fathers need to step up. Fathers have responsibility to these children. Now maybe they don't get along, and maybe the separation with the spouse or the person that had the child, that's not relevant anymore. The relevant fact is you're still a father and you still have a child that needs your constant love, example, and also needs to be able to be pointed in the right direction. Discipline, structure, guidance. I mean, we see it with these elephants in the wild. Without that male figure to really knock them around and put them into place, and I'm not meaning that in a physical sense, but to not allow them to go out of line, to put barriers upon them. These male elephants did things that no other males had done that they'd ever seen in the wild. And we're seeing the same thing in society. So my admonition is for fathers, where are you, fathers? We need to show up. There's a lot of great information out there to help you get back to learning how to be a parent. If you haven't been that father, it's never too late. But our boys need you. Our boys need us as fathers and as parents. There's in my life, I believe that there's no greater calling that I have, no greater thing that I'll do on this earth than that of being a husband to my wife and a father to my children. And I believe that if everybody had that mindset, that we would see a completely different world. If it didn't work out between a husband and a wife, or between two that ended up having a child together, that still doesn't disintegrate the fact that you're still a parent. And I think sometimes when people go through separations, divorces, or a child is born out of wedlock and they don't want to have anything to do, you're still a father or you're still a mother. As Stephen Covey used to always say, when you pick up one end of the stick, you pick up the other end of the stick. You can't just go create a child and say, I don't want to have anything to do with this anymore. There are alternatives for that. There's adoption and other things. There's millions of parents out there that want children. So adoption is always an advent for people who don't want to be parents. But if you are a parent and you have children, make sure you step up. They need you more than anything. And it will be such a tremendous blessing in your own life if you do so. If you've missed out on that, it's never too late. So jump back in there. I'd admonish any of you out there that have children. There's no greater role that you'll have in life and nothing that pays a greater dividend. So with all of those words of wisdom relating to the elephant story, I hope you have a great, magnificent Monday. And we'll be talking to you again tomorrow on the Daily Echo. As always, thanks for taking time.